Hi, thank you for coming today. My name is Lindley Van Single, and I am a student of Light Language University. Today we have a phenomenal panel of amazing thought leadership and knowledge so that we can talk about cosmic connections. So for the next hour, the way we have this set up is we will be asking our panel questions so that you can learn about cosmic connections. There will be a Q&A session at the 45-minute mark, so hold all of your questions until then, and then you'll get to talk to our experts or ask our experts questions. Sound good? Okay, awesome. So let's get started with introductions. We're going to start at the other side of the table. So we've got Laura Martinez. Can you please introduce yourself to the audience?
Sure. Hi, I'm Laura Martinez, and I am a therapist, an LPCA. I'm also a shamanic practitioner, and I own my private practice called The Sacred Life.
Thank you so much. Joy?
Hi, my name is Joy Koff, and I own a metaphysical store in Louisville, Texas called Miracles of Joy. I'm a Reiki master teacher, and I have my own energy healing modality called Galactic Healing.
Yes, thank you, Joy. And then, of course, we have Anna Noyce, who is the founder and practitioner of Light Language University, which is the host of our session today. So we will be talking about light language. Anna, can you give a quick intro?
You did a good job, actually. Thank you.
Well, there's a lot more good stuff there.
Thank you.
She's also certified in a number of energy healing modalities and has her own school, which is presenting this, that has many offerings so that you can learn light language, Akashic records, medical intuitive. So lots more information after the session. If you'd like some more info. Was that me?
And the
energy's high in
the
here.
air conditioning comes on, yes.
We're blowing the circuits. That happens a lot. But we do have more info on Light Language University when you exit today.
Thank you.
And then we've got Laura Rose Tellez. Can you talk a little bit about yourself?
Sure. You've already heard my name, Laura Rose Tellez. I do Biofeedback in Frisco, Texas. I have an office there. I also do other modalities of I'm a Reiki master, quantum touch, my own little strange modalities of whatever, and I speak light language as well. So I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. And we have lots of resources for you after today's session, and you'll see that we've also recorded some podcasts so that you have even more info when you leave. And then last but not least, we've got Rebecca Eigen. And
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about yourself?
Yes, my background is Carl Jung's work of the shadow. I help people go into their own unconscious using their seventh house, which is the house opposite from our first house in astrology, which is what we all identify with. And the seventh house is the marriage house. So I do relationship work. I've written a workbook about it, and I have a webinar available now for people.
And you also have a booth out
I do.
at the fair today.
Oh,
So
good.
very cool. Thank you all for being here today. Are y'all ready to just jump into the conversation? I know I am. Okay. So what does the term cosmic connection mean to you? Who'd like to take a stab first?
I'll go. So we are all connected. We're the grain of sand on the beach, and we're also the beach. So we are connected through individual consciousness. We call them 4 levels of consciousness because Descartes did a great job. I think he was on Time magazine saying, I think, therefore I am. So there's the individual. We also have the group consciousness, which each one of you are plugged into, whether you're conscious or not conscious of it. And that part is things that you're interested in, not only your family, your friends, or the people that you work with, but also the things that you're interested in the world. So you may find different groups and you'll connect with them. The other part of that is the collective. Now the collective is interesting, and also the scientists are just now starting to plug into it, or they're really understanding with quantum physics that we as a collective, that means every human being on the planet, agree that these are flowers or that this is a table. So our consciousness of that agreement, when we come into the world, creates the atoms and the atoms form and create that consciousness and creates the flowers and creates the table. And then there's oneness, God consciousness, or creator or great spirit, however you want, however you identify with it, that holds everything together. My dad always said, Anna, he said, we're in the dream of the creator. And I used to think, well, Dad, you're crazy, until I astral projected into I was 30, and I astral projected and actually went into oneness and went, holy scamoles. He was really right. He wasn't crazy. So I just wanted to start with that.
Okay. I love that. Rebecca?
This is something that I can contribute to because Carl Jung discovered through studying alchemy that we are all connected to what he called the collective unconscious. And this is where the archetypes reside, and archetypes are planets. Planets and archetypes is the same word. The planets obviously are in the sky, but we are connected. So the ancients believed that as above, so below, as within, so without. So everything that is in our energy field is going to come to us because of who we are radiating, our energy. So there are no accidents, whatsoever who comes into your life. And doing shadow work and learning about the collective unconscious really does help you see how we are all one. And how ridiculous it is that we're fighting wars and stuff because we are all one. So that's, what I would say.
I love that.
Nice.
Would you like to go?
Sure. Yeah. Being a therapist and hearing people and talk about their issues and their problems, there is this belief that life is happening to me, like I'm the victim of everything that's occurring in my life. Whereas when I think of the cosmic consciousness, it's no, everything is moving through you, and we are the expression of all and oneness. And so I think it is incredibly healing when people start to realize that not only are you a vessel, and not only are you allowing life to live through you, and we can be an expression of life, you're also her, him, everybody else. And it's all happening because we are one. Like, we are just this big, like she said about the sand, like we really are the ocean, and we're just the waves. So, yeah.
Joy, do you have anything to add, or have we covered it all? I know it's a very robust topic.
I just want to touch base on a little bit because it is a really big topic. We do create our reality, and what we resist persists. There's an aspect within ourselves that resists something and keeps showing up over and over and over again until we learn how to clear it and realize it's just us. Connecting to the all that is, we all have that power to do that on a daily basis. And we connect to the all that is in every moment. What I have noticed in my work and with people walking into the store, tears are showing up more and more this year than they've ever shown up, where people just walk in and start crying. And I said, okay, so if you have nothing to fear in your life, there's nothing that's making you depressed, but that's showing up for you, we are proving that we're all one, that we're picking up on the terror and the fear of people in Ukraine. So if there's nothing actually going on in your life that's creating this, you're just processing what they're going through on the other side of the world. And put that into perspective, and then that may put that fear on the side, because you can look at yourself, and we check the list. I have people walk in. I said, let's check the list. Anything going on in your relationship? No. Work? No. Financial? No. Okay. So you're plugging into that group consciousness. So what that shows me is we're really more connected than we've ever been on this planet.
And I think that leads to the next question, which is, many people are experiencing heaviness. They're trying to, through therapy and other tools, understand how to fix it or how to alleviate it. Can you talk about some tools that we can use once you go through the checklist like you're talking about and you determine maybe this is a collective absorption? Can you talk about some of the tools we can use? And Laura Rose, hopefully you have a few, but I'd love to hear from you.
I do, thank you. So what I do is I'm a biofeedback specialist. And people, even the woo-woo people are like, wait a minute, what is biofeedback? So biofeedback is basically using frequencies to retrain your body, okay? Because when we come into this planet and we're living in this human body, this flesh, and we have a DNA pattern, we have all sorts of things that we've brought in with us as a human being, we bring in a lot of junk. We bring in junk through our DNA, our experiences in life, our traumas and things like that. Those elements get stuck in our cellular memory. They're very powerful. And when you have things in your cellular memory, that's what causes dis-ease within the body. The American Medical Association states that over 80% of all disease, okay, there's no exceptions here, is caused by stress and trauma. When you go through things in your childhood and you don't have the wherewithal, the maturity to reconcile that within you, where does it go? It has to go somewhere in your body. It goes into your cells. And once it's in your cells, it stays there unless you fish it out. So think about the different emotions. Anger gets trapped in your liver, it holds there, and when it does that, your liver can start getting backed up. It starts creating health problems. It does all sorts of things by using frequencies, because each one of you has your own frequency, your voltmetric signature that is yours and yours alone. It's like your fingerprint. When you're working with that frequency, it's not just one, it's a compilation of many frequencies. So when you're working to retrain those and to get some of those traumas out, there's a lot of different ways that you can do that, because when we're born, we are meant to transmute some things in our family lines, right? We all have family traits that come in. We all have emotional sectors, behaviors that continue from generation to generation that promotes dis-ease. When we're working with those frequencies and transmuting them, using biofeedback to do that will help to retrain your body and say, okay, your cells can relieve this trauma, it can let this go, and your body does what it does best and heals itself. Not only does it work with the body, but it also works with your etheric fields as well, because we are what? Spiritual beings having a human experience. And so when we're diving deep into our own stuff that we are trying to transmute and work through, we're working to heal future generations. We're working, and those ripple effects go out to the planet, and we make a difference just by working through that stuff ourselves. So when you're shown something that you don't like, a darkness or something that is like, this is my favorite part of myself, be grateful and say thank you for showing yourself, because now that I see you, I can transmute you and change that frequency. You don't have to carry that forward. You can let it go, because that's what we're here to do. I hear people ask me all the time, what's my big purpose here on the planet? It's to be and to learn and to grow and to work together as one, because we're all connected in the consciousness, right?
Absolutely.
And along with what she's saying, I actually had a rash from the top of my head to the bottom of my toes, and it would erupt. And it wouldn't be all the time. It would come and go. And of course, most people in metaphysics have heard Louise Hay. She's written an amazing book, and I swear by it. I've had it for 25 years. Well, of course, it says, who's under your skin? So the body speaks quite literally. And one day my sister called me and said, you know, you're so good about giving people cassettes and tapes. When I started metaphysics, I had to give everybody one, right? I had to go buy books and give them to everybody. And she said, then why are your relationships the same as they were before? And instantly this man popped into my mind, who I had not forgiven, who was teaching relationship workshops and yet literally not living it. I knew he had a horrible relationship. And so instantly I saw it and I went, oh my God, I'm just like him. I mean, it was instant. I never had that rash again. So something we project onto another person that's in our unconscious will be, literally can take over and do something in our body. And that's like the first place that it starts going. Otherwise, it gets worse. You know, shadow work is extremely important. There's so much that we do not know about ourselves. I'm going to be 70 this year, and I guarantee you, from the time I was 30, when I started doing all this, 35 to 40 to 50 to 60, you learn more and more and more every year, and it's self-discovery does not end.
Thank you, Rebecca. And Laura Rose, you actually touched on something that's our next question, which is how can frequencies help my body? And you started that. Can you talk a little bit about that? And then Joy, I would love to hear your perspective after that as well.
Absolutely. So,
And yes, we only have 45 minutes, so just
I'll reel myself in. I can do it. Okay, well, so with biofeedback and frequencies, my biofeedback device, for example, uses different kinds of frequencies. It's programmed with solfeggio frequencies. And if you're not familiar with that, Google it. It's spelled SOLFEGGIO. Those frequencies shift things in your body. And there's different levels. They're done at different hertz. And so what you're wanting to do is find a frequency that is going to work with whatever's troubling you in your body. So you can use solfeggio frequencies for relaxing, for healing, for breaking through blockages, spiritual blockages that you have. There's also Rife frequencies. Rife frequencies are fabulous. My device has those as well. I recommend everyone, when you can, get your own Rife device and just use that as your medicine cabinet. Because a Rife device, basically the Rife frequencies are a string of numbers that equal an item. So this string of numbers, like 2, 3, 7, 9, 65, that equals the liver. Okay, so Dr. Rife was able to pinpoint what frequencies, go with what organs in the body, go with what diseases and things like that. You find that frequency, you can start transmuting that and retraining that area of your body. Our voices are frequencies. Light languages are frequencies. Everything. There's so many frequencies out there. Just your vibration alone that you're emitting is a frequency. So what are you emitting to everyone? What are you bringing to the party to share? Are you bringing some good higher vibrational ones, or are you bringing some little nasty darker ones? Whichever ones you can shift at any moment. Okay. But having an awareness of that. What am I emitting forth, and where can I go get these frequencies to help me in my everyday life? These are things you can get on your phone. It's easy getting a Rife device. They're not that expensive. It's a great tool. Biofeedback. The difference between Rife and biofeedback's a two-way street because we're talking to your body. Your body's responding and giving us the information back. Using Rife frequencies, one-way street. You're finding the frequency pattern that your body's asking for, and boom, you're delivering those frequencies, and it's starting to transmute those things in areas of your body that need help, and your spiritual auric field as well.
Okay, very cool. And Joy, I'd love to hear you.
I swear by biofeedback and Rife. But I want to add something else that you can bring forward. The sun is a frequency. Standing out in the sunlight and actually allowing that to come into you is a frequency. Getting in nature is a frequency. Being trapped into buildings nonstop, our houses, things of that nature, please give yourself at least an hour a day to just go outside and be with your bare foot on the ground, or your butt on a ground, or laying on the ground, and just absorb the energy of this planet, because Mother Earth is here to heal you.
Yes.
Anytime you channel, it's a frequency, and there's not a person I've met that does not know how to channel. They may not realize that they're a channel, but I tell people, when your heart chakra goes wide open and you make a heart-to-heart connection, I don't care if it's a stranger or a family member, and your judgment moves off to the side, and these words of wisdom come through you, you're an open vessel, you're an open channel, that is spirit merging with you. I said, that will clear your pipes faster than anything. Do it for yourself. We want to do it for other people, but sometimes we forget to do it for ourselves, just to make that connection on a daily basis and give ourselves that 10 or 15 minutes. I tell people, I don't care how busy you are. If you can't go and connect with the all that is and give yourself 5 minutes, you're telling me you're not worth 5 minutes.
It all starts with you.
Exactly.
Everything starts with you. It's not being selfish. It's being prepared. You're preparing yourself to help anyone around you with your frequency.
Exactly.
Yeah. Laura, I would love to hear, as a therapist, what are some of the things that you observe we do that unconsciously lower our vibration or connection?
I think the biggest thing that we do is get into a place of fear. Fear is a big one. You know, we are a vibrational energy mass, and everything that we send out, we get back in return. So if I'm walking around and I have a bunch of fear, guess what? That is what I'm going to be calling forth, is fearful experiences. I think one of the things that has been the biggest gift is helping people unhook from their storylines. The storylines of I'm not good enough, I'm not important, I'm never gonna make money, whatever it might be. These messages that we're sending to ourselves, we're actually emitting them out into the world, and we're creating that reality for myself. So even if it's something as simple as I need more inspiration, I need more inspiration. No. Say I am inspiration. I am inspired. You say that and you will get all the inspiration coming to you. So I think fear is one of the biggest blockages and barriers, and we're consuming it too. I mean, on the media, everywhere, we're consuming it and we're eating it and we're living it. And so it's really heightening your awareness to see, how am I living? What am I eating? What am I drinking? What am I watching? What kind of people am I surrounding myself with? It's all of those things. Like, we are consuming all of it. So definitely unhooking from that fear and the storylines. And then the second thing is also being able to even tap into your dreams, right? And look at that, because you talk about the shadow work with Jung. I love Jungian archetypes and all of that, but being aware of, where is the fear coming up? What's going on in my psyche when I'm going to sleep at night? So being able to really look at your dreams is a way to look at what blockages you have.
Anna, can you add to that?
I knew you were going to do that.
Okay, good. I mean, it's like you're psychic.
So, so I'm a little bit different. I recognize my father. My father had taught me a long time ago, when I was a wee lass, about energy and frequencies and living on a ranch and survival on the ranch. So if I got into the bullpen and the bull was going to charge me, I had to bring my energy, and I couldn't be fearful, because the bull would feel the fear and come after me, which actually did happen, and it saved my life, because that shock of fear went through me and I went, oh, I'm not in the right place. So immediately I did what you all are talking about. I brought in the energy, and I brought something that made me laugh or something funny, and that frequency goes out into our light language. The bull realized I wasn't a threat and calmed down and started eating, and I was able to sneak back through the fence. I'm also different because with my father raising, I spent a lot of time in the summers in this Indian teepee in Taos, New Mexico. So to me, being on the ground or in the grass, I don't enjoy that. A lot of smoke, because I spend a lot of summers there. And my dad we did a lot of ceremonies and things like that, and he was a speaker and artist as well. So I learned really quickly that I could connect to Source, because there was no disconnection between me and Source. I can be in a building, I can be somewhere on an airplane, I can be speaking right now and immediately drop into that and bring that energy in. So I understand that there's no limitations. The only thing that limits us is us. And I think that's what we were talking about. So yes.
Yeah.
So when we talk about frequencies, our next question or pivot is to, do the planets and stars have frequencies? And if so, how or when can we leverage that? Who wants to run up on that one?
Well, that's something I've studied for 30 years, but I wouldn't call it frequencies, as I told Anna on the phone. I would call it energy. You know, we're made up of psychic energy and intrapsychic energy. And so each planet is symbolic of the state of our consciousness. every single archetype is part of all of us. We all have all of it, but some of us have a little more than others. So if you know your astrological birth chart, you can see this person has 5 planets in Earth. That means they have very little air. So Earth being practicality and groundedness and making things concrete in the world, and air being thinking and communication and perspectives. So each element is the same thing as what Carl Jung called psychological functions. Earth, air, fire, and water are the same as thinking, intuition, sensation, and feeling. So each of us have all of these elements, just in different proportions. And what the alchemists discovered in the 13th to 17th centuries was that the ones that we were lacking, that we had to develop ourselves. So if we're lacking a certain element, we will attract it through our shadow. And our shadow will be something outside. And I always give examples. So I'd like to say that when I got married, my husband was like super practical, and he was like a rock of Gibraltar. And I just thought, oh my God, he makes me feel so safe. And then he became a stick in the mud. Because he wasn't willing to risk. And I had all this air and fire, right? So that's why he drew me in, because he had none, and vice versa. So again, there are no accidents like zero. Who we attract. And when you learn about your own energy, then you can start making a conscious effort to develop all of the elements when they're appropriate. When it's appropriate to be practical, when it's appropriate to stand back and be more objective thinking, when it's appropriate to value something or use your feeling nature instead of your intellect, and when it's appropriate to go after what you're trying to make happen. So every one of us has to do this ourselves, and it just takes work. It takes consciousness. It takes looking at our dreams that are compensatory. Our dreams are compensatory in the sense that they will compensate for our lack of whatever. Does anyone else have anything? Yeah, I could go on forever about the subject.
I like it.
I think what I would add is you were talking about frequency and the universe and all the planets. I feel like right now there's just an opening at this particular time. I know that I'm very connected to other star systems. And I would call those frequencies as well that come through my channeling. Now, if you would have asked me 17 years ago, how did I feel about aliens? I would say they could go there. I don't want to be anywhere near them. Let them stay over there. And today, it was working with frequencies of different alien races that come through, whether it's channeling or they're actually with us at this time. I work with the Pleiadians, I work with the Orionites. I don't have any fear of that whatsoever, but I did when I first started this about 17 years ago. And part of that was because my mom swore she was abducted by aliens. So as a child, I was actually terrified, don't come to my room. I had this wall that was out. So it had that fear that I had a fear base about it. And when I finally decided to judge something based on how its frequency felt or how the energy was, I realized it was higher vibrations that I was working with, and that I don't see any difference between archangels and alien races that I work with. To me, they're the same.
Interesting.
Is good. Oh, I know you're looking at me, yes. Because we talk about acutonics, yes. So acutonics is, if you don't know what acutonics is, they're tuning forks that are aligned to the planets. And they work on the body, and they also work on the astral fields. And we do not teach that because you're already a tuning fork. You're a human tuning fork. And what I think the panel was talking about is that you each have your own energy signature. So the university, we teach spirit anatomy in 101, and then we teach you how to, we remind you, I'm being reminded now by the golden beings, we remind you of how to astral project and how that works and how to bring things to your consciousness very quickly. From there, we show you how to bring energies and do everything because you don't really need the tools. You are the tool. And that's what's opening up in this whole universe at the moment, and the awakening on the planet, is you're recognizing just how powerful and how magnificent and how amazing you are, and just stepping into your power to shift things. Because when you think of something, you're manifesting. And when you think in a group consciousness, it comes in a big way. And when we think as a collective, going back, we create things that are solid. So it's a big deal.
So I just heard you say light beings, and I'm going to go back to Laura Rose. How do I work with other light beings? Or what is that?
Well, I know by what I've experienced in my life, I have had contact with many different races from many different systems over my lifetime. And some of it has been a little wonky, and some of it's been like, oh, this is a bit much. But I actually was abducted when I was 6 and had an experience. And I was very peaceful. I wasn't frightened. I was in my room. I saw a flash, looked out the window, and then I was on the ship. It was a very quick thing, but I've had contact with extraterrestrials ever since, in many different forms and fashions. Energetically, I do feel like the star systems and things like that are frequencies. When I started out very young, I saw a lot of dead people. I was the medium, did a lot of mediumship work, and the frequency of a human soul that has passed is completely different than an entity from another star system. It feels different, it is different. Think of it kind of as tuning in on a radio station dial. Boop, 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 get a little static. Oh, there we are, there's that frequency. And it feels differently. So I definitely am on the same page with, yes, these are frequencies. Did I answer the question, or did I get sidetracked? What was the question again?
I have 5 more questions now, so I can, yes, and.
Oh, how to work with light beings. I'm back now, I got it. So,
It's the energy in the room.
I just got a little derailed. I get a little derailed sometimes, but working with light beings, for me, has never really been a choice. So when you're taken when you're 6, there's not a choice there. You just go along with it. The beings that have presented themselves to me, there have been times where I'm like, oh, I am not okay with this. And they disappear. They respect my space for what I can handle and what I can't. So like in the previous thing that we had with the podcast, Anna was talking about the first time the golden beings came in for her. And she's like, no, I'm not okay with this. And they're like, she's not ready. We'll get her ready because there's some stuff to be done. When these other beings come to you, just know that the feeling is very different. You might have a pressure sensation in your ears like you're underwater. You might feel it, but, always set your boundaries. I only work with the highest vibrational frequencies for my highest good only. That's what I allow in, and that's what I tell my gatekeepers. We're only doing the highest vibrational for my highest good, and what I speak is going to only be for the highest good of those I'm speaking to when I'm doing stuff. So I think it's important to set boundaries and to set your perimeters for what you're going to allow in. And you do that before you work with anything that you consider to be a light being. Okay? And then just feel it in your body. If it doesn't feel of love, if it doesn't feel of light, of higher vibrational frequencies, let it go. And just say, nope, we're not doing that. It's up to you. We're in a free will universe, right? Most likely, if you're operating on those higher frequencies and you're doing that stuff, you're going to attract the higher beings because it's going to be time for them to come in, and we're going to go to that next level. We're going to do something different. We're going to expand this. So when you're open to it and you're working with your frequency and making sure that you're up there and you're not dwelling in the junk of our programming that we get as being humans. That's the first key, is keeping your vibrational level higher and making sure that you're emanating those good frequencies. Because why? We're in a homeopathic universe, like attracts like. That's how you attract them in to work with them. Ask your guides. Show me who I'm working with. Give me this information. They're going to tell you what they're able to tell you. They don't tell us everything all the time because some things we're not ready for. But ask questions, and then listen. That's what's important. Set your boundaries. And then when you're working with them, just enjoy it because it's a marvelous experience. one like you've never had before.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would like to add to that. With my shamanic work, whenever we're doing a shamanic journey, what happens is they're listening to drum beats repetitively. And so when the brain listens to drum beats, it kind of puts you in a state of altered consciousness. And our brain, what it does is it just completely pairs with the frequency it's hearing. So it's just, you're going on a journey through the drum. And whenever you're on this journey, you open yourself up to other light beings. You open yourself up to other entities that come in. And it could be you, too, from a past life coming in, too. So I think one of the ways that we can work with light beings, too, is true surrender. Like, our soul knows how to do this. Like, it's very natural for us to do this. And whenever we are in surrender and we're letting go of those barriers, the fear, the storylines, all of that, and we're just allowing ourselves to just exist and just to be with the drum, some really incredible things happen. Yeah. And a lot of times clients will come up and they'll be like, what the hell was that? Like, what just happened to me right now? Like, let's talk. Yes.
Do we have anything else to add before our last question, before we head into Q&A?
Interesting. Light beings. So the other thing that we bring in with the school is we work more with visualization. The beings that I communicate, I hear and see them as well, and they're here at the moment. We've got two. I had somebody come up to me and they said, "You have a light being. Did you know that? A golden light?" And I said, "Yes." And I said, "Well, there's usually two. I wonder where the other one is." You know? But the point is, they teach. They're great teachers. The school is actually theirs, and we all work and they channel and we work with them. The golden light is an incredible. When you're working with gold light, and you'll see our banners and everything, you're working with source energy. And source energy is that oneness that we talked on, the consciousness. And when you work with white, and these are all, of course, the collective thinking, it's purity. So when you put that purity and you put the source energy together, and you imagine that energy coming down, and for those of you who want to be more, to open up that third eye, your eyes are never closed. If you can remember what you had for breakfast, or you can think about your house, you're clairvoyant. If you can hear your own voice, or your mother's voice, or somebody else's voice, you're clairaudient. It never went away. It's just that we think that it's gone away, but you always have it, because every one of your five senses is matched by a intuitive sense, or a psychic sense, if you want to call it. But the point is, by bringing in this light, this is the natural light. You are a light being. When I walk into a room, I usually say, "How many of you are light beings?" If I ask that question, how many of you are going to raise your hand? Good. I see a couple. The truth is, every one of you is a light being, because nobody's left out. So, and I love the panel, because we all have been doing what we've been doing for a while, and you guys are doing, and also, but we're all the same. The only difference is we just kind of focus more into it. So.
Thank you, Anna. We're going to do one last question before we head into Q&A. So I'd love to start with you, Laura, but when we're talking about cosmic connections, what's one nugget that you would love our audience to take away today?
Yeah, I think the thing that's coming up right now for me, I'm sure there's so many nuggets, but the one nugget is looking at those 4 levels of consciousness. And that lowest level is life is happening to me. I am the victim of my circumstances, and everything's happening to me, and I'm the victim of my life. Now, the next level of consciousness is life is happening by me. And these are the people that are go-getters, that do everything because they have to, and they just pile through everything, but they're not really calling on any higher consciousness. They're just kind of, they're usually very controlling people because they have to do everything their way, right? That's the second level. And then the third level is life is happening through me. I am a vessel, and I'm an open vessel, and whether it be God or your highest self, something's working through me and life is going through me. And that is whenever you're pairing your actions with your higher power, your higher state, whatever you want to call it. Now, that 4th level of consciousness is that's where it's at. And that is we are all one, which Anna opened up with. We are all one. We are oneness. We are each other. We are expressions of the universe. I am an expression of the universe, and I can choose how to live my life that way. So you might want to just ask yourself silently, like, where am I in that list? Like, what level of consciousness am I living from? And what level of consciousness do you wish to be at? Where do you want to come from? I think that is probably the one thing that I just want to share with you guys, is you have the ability to get into the highest level of consciousness. And even beyond that, there's things beyond that that we don't even know of yet, right? So, yeah. Thank you guys for being here. Appreciate it.
Joy?
One thing that I would want someone to take away from this is to realize, can you say, I am God, every day when you wake up in the morning? Can you say, I am Source, every day when you wake up in the morning? Realize that you're God, you're Source, and you create your own reality. When I feel like it gets heavy for me, I wake up every morning, say, I am divine. I am divine. I am divine. And I say that in order to set my day for what it is that I want to create. Now, when things blow up, I say, I am divine. I am divine. I want you to realize that that's pulling that energy back to you and not allowing this outside world to affect you. To call your power back to yourself. And that everyone is Source. You are Source. Call yourself God every day when you wake up in the morning.
Thank you. I can do that. I'm adding that to my to-do list.
I agree. And just remember how magnificent you are. You are, like you said, divine. You're part of the 4 levels of consciousness, and you're here. And what a great time to be here, because when you walk out that door and what you put out into your light language, into your aura, into your being, is what you share with others. So just remember, when you walk past, you're sharing that information, and that other person feels it, and then they brighten up. And so you create more light beings just by being light.
Well, for me, I would say, for those of you who have moments where you feel lonely or sad, or like you are just off on your own island by yourself, just winging it, that is an illusion. It's not real. When you have that feeling, it's your illusion of cutting yourself off, thinking that you are not connected, and that's just a big fat lie. You're always connected, and it's always within you. So when you're having those feelings of loneliness and I'm doing this by myself, stop and say, guides, help me to connect. Help me to see my connection to all that is, and help me to feel that connection, because that will shift your perspective and take you out of that space of loneliness, of feeling like you're all by yourself in this, because you're not. Just remember, it's an illusion.
Thank you. And Rebecca?
I would say that the Pisces age is over. We are now in the Aquarian age. And so the Pisces age was a lot of sacrificing and suffering in our relationships. And standing back and saying, well, I have to put up with this. It's my bed. I made it. I have to stay in it. We don't have to do anything anymore. I think for the first 30 years of our life, it's pretty faded. And if you look at somebody's birth chart, you can see it. But the next 30 years, we can write our own story, as she said. And as we're writing our own story, we're contributing to the cosmic oneness of everyone. We are also all on this planet to develop our masculine and our feminine inside of us. It's not outside of us. We are all both masculine and feminine. And so there's more of wanting to understand how we all connect through this cross. And as you're walking around on the planet, it's really interesting. I walked out of the Jung Center one night, and the light was shining right down on the street, and there it was, the masculine and the feminine sign that the runes have. Have y'all seen the runes? The rune Gibo is that sign. And so my wish for everyone is that we all understand we are all part of each other, and that the masculine and feminine is necessary for us to do that.
I love it. Those were good tweetable moments. So we'll process those for a while. We do have about 15 minutes left in our session, so this is where we're going to open it up for questions. We won't be doing healings today, just FYI, but we would love to take your questions for our panel and get some answers for you. So does anyone have a question that they'd like to ask?
So just recently, I just stumbled across where my sign's Capricorn, and I do that according to my date. Are the dates still? Are the signs still according to the same date in our
Yes.
beliefs?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I would recommend getting a birth chart,
Okay.
because if you're going just by your sun sign, that may tell of your characteristics, but when you're looking at your moon sign, that's going to tell more of your soul, and your rising sign is going to tell more of your personality traits. You want to look at where your planets are, because it's not just about the sun sign. That may not be as accurate. It can be, but it may not be as accurate. So getting a birth chart, and you can go online and get them for free. Just put in your date, your place, and your time. That is valuable blueprint information to explore. Also in numerology, getting your numerology chart done is also vitally important, because once you see the good, bad, and ugly of you in your blueprint, you're able to accept yourself more, right? You'll go, oh, look, you know, this was ordained because it's
And you don't get rid of it either.
you know, it's just something that you learn to love about yourself, the little idiosyncrasies and whatnot. And it also teaches you more of how you relate to other people. So I really urge you, get a birth chart and look it over, because then you'll go, oh, that explains so much. It really does.
It does.
And it doesn't. Great question.
Yeah, very good.
So what do you mean it doesn't change?
Meaning that if you're a Capricorn sun, there are different studies in astrology from Vedic and Western, but you're not going to flip from a Capricorn to a Sagittarius. That's your sign.
I guess I was thinking of personality.
Oh,
You can change things about your personality that's in your chart, though, right?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We're all here to grow.
I barely am a Libra anymore.
you just change signs. Yeah. Okay.
There's more things I didn't
We don't get rid of anything.
And if that could have been swapped out, it would have been swapped out.
Okay.
But,
Oh, yeah.
You do, like Laura Rose said, you learn it. You learn to love how that reflects, and it just teaches you more about yourself.
The more conscious you are, the more you understand that there are higher and lower levels of using every single sign.
Oh, yeah. Gotcha.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
And you
I-
can choose to be the higher part of your sign.
Absolutely. And I just want to add, it's not by chance that you came in at the exact time,
Right.
and
No.
it was divine, and you created it. So, yeah.
I'm so filled now. My head is so much energy.
That is also because of the energy in the room.
Exactly.
So
I
this
feel it,
energy
yeah.
is
It's really wonderful.
sparking right now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Everything's standing up.
Do we have any other questions? Yes.
When you ladies are connected to higher beings, do you connect from just the 7th or 8th dimension, or do you go through each dimension and connect to as needed?
I don't even know if I put it that
Yeah,
way.
I don't put it that way.
I call it merge. Okay, and what I mean by that is when I'm connecting to those higher frequencies, I allow it to merge in my energy field. It's not like it takes over my body. Our aura is so big, so they just come closer to us, so we make more of a heart-to-heart connection with them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and right now the golden beings are on both sides of me, and we're all sharing aura. So your aura is coming out way out here. We can push it out into the room. So if we're all overlapping, we're sharing the energy of these beings.
Right.
So it's,
I saw my star daddy give your beings a nod like, hello.
they're like,
They all are aware of each other.
oh yeah, and no secrets. I mean, they do. They talk, and they're like, "Ooh, I just found out."
Love that question. Do
Good
we have
question.
any other questions? I have one.
I know that Joy said, get up in the morning and say you're God, you're divine, you're. How can you get your husband forward to believe you?
Good question.
I am God.
One of
Oh, I would announce this.
okay. I am
Tell him
God.
he's also divine.
Yes.
Yes.
We
You're
are
also
gods.
God. You're also God as well. One of the things that I've taught people is I tell them, I said, learn how to pray powerfully. And they go, what does that mean? At what point do you stomp your foot and say, this stops now? Okay, Creator, change it.
I've done that.
With power. And what happens is someone says, I can't yell at God.
Oh, yes,
I said,
you can.
God doesn't have an ego. But when we learn how to say something powerfully, we're always taught to pray from a begging perspective.
that's
and
true.
that frequency and that vibration is very low.
Yeah.
And it's going to take a lot to change it. When you stomp your foot and you command it and you call it to you now, it has power behind it. And you will see miracles happen in your life when you do that.
But to your question, I feel you because I'm married to a Muggle. For those who aren't Harry Potter fans, that's a nomad. He has no spiritual quest or desire to know anything. He doesn't even like to watch previews of the next episode of what we're going to watch because that will ruin it. and so for me, in the beginning, I would be like frustrated. I would tell him something and I'd think, okay, I'm giving you a little heads up here. And he was like, nope, 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 nope. So now what I do is I just be. I don't try to force feed him anything. I don't try to do anything. I'm just being. So if I were to get up in the morning and say, I'm God, I don't have to proclaim it to him because I'm not trying to prove anything to him. But just in being. And then as you're stating that and as you're pulling that in, he's going to start witnessing those things. And then he's going to start taking notice. And then he's going to get curious. And he's going to go, wait a minute. On his own time and terms, he will expand as he's designed to. You are not responsible for him. You're only responsible for you and maintaining your vibrational frequency. And you do it in a way that's loving and powerful and compassionate for you, but you don't have to proclaim it to anybody because it doesn't matter.
I've tried everything.
Oh, they see, and
If Laura doesn't talk to him.
It's my dad. That's my mom, by the way. Oh, that's your dad? She's talking about my dad.
I love it. I love it.
That's why I didn't comment on that one. I was like, I'm going to leave that one alone.
He's a Virgo, by the way.
Oh yeah,
That actually
he's a
explains
list maker.
everything.
Taskmaster. Give me the facts. Yes.
He used to call your dad.
Well, yeah.
The thing that I will say about this wonderful panel is, there are many different languages to say the same thing, right?
Exactly.
And I think that there's many paths to get through to people, and that's why we don't just have one person up here. We have practitioners, healers, and people with different experiences because they're each going to be able to connect differently. Some people, astrology will never be their thing. Other people will study it for 40 years. So I would say that sometimes it's not what you're saying, it's the path you're saying or the language you're choosing. And so he may just one day find his Virgo language.
I can tell you someone can wake up.
Yeah.
And I have a brother-in-law, and I'm the crazy sister, crazy. And then one day, my brother-in-law had an experience when he was on a tour. He does tours in New Orleans, where he actually had an angel show up and start speaking to him, and he had this huge awakening. So now my brother, who is atheist, now has his husband who is completely woken up, and I turn around and I try to explain to my brother, just let him be. He's really excited about this because he goes, do you know how many years he made fun of you? I said, but something spoke to him and he woke up. Now here we are, knowing each other for 30 years at this point, and now he and I speak the same language.
Yeah, and it can happen. My husband now believes that there's ghosts. Okay, he's and sometimes he'll say to me, your energy feels off. And I'm like, who are you? Did you notice my energy today? I'm like, woo! And, you know, but they do it in their own timing. And the more you try to force it on someone or project onto someone else, the more resistance you're going to find. So the more ways you find to love him where he is, that's going to minister to him the most, because he's going to feel that unconditional love, that's universal love. So love him where he is and don't have expectations, because expectations,
Yeah, they don't have it.
No.
I've been married 45 years to this.
Wow.
well done.
They really
Yes.
have a beautiful relationship.
That's wonderful.
Thank you for your question. That's such a good question.
Well, I do have something to add, because as we learn with the university, as you start to shift, it's going to automatically, you raise your vibration. Remember, we're
Subconscious.
connected on the 4 levels. So it starts to, Rael can be a good testament for that one, her husband.
Was the same thing. There's no way he understands his language. But now, like Laura said, he picks up, he goes, something's off with your energy today. Seriously? And he's hard to pick up just because I'm doing the work.
So you ever say there's something light about your energy?
Oh, yeah.
They pick up something.
Yeah, it's all different kinds of things. I mean, he's starting to notice different things, you know, and he'll pick up something, he'll say something, I went, ooh, look at you, you're using your intuition. And he'll go, did I? Yeah, it's like, that's sexy, baby. I just keep doing it. And I just encourage him, and that helps him to relax into it more. It really does, just to relax, just being. Let him be.
And the unconscious is working through him as well as it's working through you. So like my business partner, she would chew gum out loud, and it drove me nuts. And she would also bring crumpled business cards to our meetings. So I started carrying her business cards, and I started ignoring that she chewed gum out loud. And I would go in my mind and I would say, but I love this, and this about her. I love this, and this about her. And every time she would do it, I would do that inside myself. She quit chewing gum out loud.
Yes.
She still would bring her crumpled business. But I accepted her. You know, I accepted her. She accepted me, the idiosyncrasies, like you said. And as we became closer and closer and closer, we were like best friends. It was just amazing. So love, and just expressing your love to that person by not judging, criticizing, and carping on them is very helpful.
Thank you so much. And on that note, we are going to take one last question. I will say, when we do conclude, our panel will be up here. You can certainly come up and meet them and talk to them. But who would like to ask our final question for today?
No pressure. Dun, dun, dun.
Okay, then we're good. I want to say thank you to our panelists and Light Language University for hosting. We do have a plethora of resources outside on the table, as well as Light Language University's website. So know that we have videos, podcasts, and bios on all of our speakers today. So if you're looking for more knowledge, you